Dark Eldar, Dawn of War Definitive Edition. The Dark Eldar represent sadistic speed, terror tactics, and parasitic combat mechanics. They are a depraved splinter faction of the Xenos Eldar race. They trade heavy defensive armor and prolonged frontline holding power for lightning-fast raiding crafts and devastating torment systems. The Dark Eldar do not capture territory to hold it peacefully. The faction controls the pace of the match through rapid terror raids, psychological debuffs, and sudden poison strikes. Their infrastructure and economy incentivize constant battlefield murder and the harvesting of living souls. These forces excel at ambushing isolated targets, spreading mass panic, and feeding on the chaos of war. They maintain extreme battlefield velocity using low-flying anti-gravity skimmers. This playstyle systematically breaks an opponent's mental willpower before completely destroying their physical army. However, mastering them requires balancing this hyper-aggressive slaughter against some of the most fragile glass cannon units in the game. The primary strength of the Dark Eldar is their unique soul harvest system. Whenever any living unit, friend or foe, dies on the battlefield, their soul essence pulls into a global resource meter. As this gauge fills up, the commander unlocks powerful map-wide psychic torches. These global abilities can instantly blind entire army divisions, strike targets with localized lightning storms, or drive enemy squads into a homicidal frenzy. Furthermore, the faction features highly lethal poison and splinter weaponry. Their basic rifles fire hypervelocity shards coated in terrifying neurotoxins. This mechanic ignores standard physical armor ratings and deals direct agonizing damage over time to enemy infantry. Their late-game combat drugs and razor-sharp skimmer fleets are equally terrifying. Drug-fueled gladiators sprint across the battlefield at breakneck speeds to slice up enemy commanders. Their fast attack barges feature blade-line hulls designed to physically ram through squads. They slice infantry models to pieces while inflicting mass psychological suppression on any survivors. The sudden raiding and terror potential of this faction is entirely unmatched. The Dark Eldar rely heavily on maintaining the offensive because their production buildings are incredibly weak. They do not possess heavily fortified bunkers or thick defensive perimeter walls. The tech tree forces commanders into building specialized slave pens to power their economic growth. The Dark Eldar force must constantly capture and hoard enemy workers to boost their resource generation. Advancing to higher technology tiers unlocks grotesque flesh monsters and cloaked stealth fighters, but it requires keeping your vulnerable slave network fully protected. Opponents who spot your fragile holding pens can launch swift, destructive counter-raids. This forces the Dark Eldar commander to break off an assault to defend their own territory. If the enemy successfully frees your captured slaves, your resource generation instantly tanks. The faction completely lacks heavy static turrets to defend territory while the main army is away. Every single forward outpost must be actively guarded using ambush traps. A disrupted slave economy often leads to a severely starved and dismantled mid-game strategy. The Dark Eldar's incredible raiding speed comes with an exceptionally brutal physical trade-off. The most glaring weakness of the Dark Eldar faction is their paper-thin vehicle armor. Their primary transport ships and heavy gun barges are built for speed, not durability. Entire armored columns can be completely vaporized in seconds if they wander into a hidden pocket of anti-vehicle missile batteries or heavy tank fire. Because they rely heavily on ambush tactics, the Dark Eldar suffer severely in prolonged wars of attrition. The faction possesses unmatched burst damage, but they cannot survive in a sustained, open-field shootout. If an opponent uses heavy shields or defensive fortifications to absorb the initial poison volley, your glass cannon squads will quickly fail. Basic raiding troops cannot survive direct counterattacks. Progress is completely reliant on striking an unprotected flank and retreating immediately. If the initial raiding wave gets bogged down in a heavy firefight, the entire army can shatter in moments.
There are more that I can fight.
Adding to the Dark Eldar's extreme fragility is the volatile nature of their core combat drugs mechanic. While these chemical stimulants grant immense boosts to attack speed and damage, they carry a lethal risk. If a squad stays on combat drugs for too long, the chemicals cause the warriors to take massive internal damage or instantly die from an overdose. Additionally, while their anti-gravity skimmers move fast, They are quite fragile and require evasive maneuvers to avoid enemy fire. The Dark Eldar demand immaculate targeting precision and flawless hit-and-run execution. A commander must constantly balance soul abilities and drug cooldowns. Fragile skimmers must be micromanaged perfectly to drop off troops, unleash poison volleys, and escape before the enemy can turn their guns around. Ultimately, the Dark Eldar are a faction of absolute terror, predatory speed, and sadistic battlefield control. They offer the highest burst poison damage, unique soul harvesting powers, and the fastest raiding capabilities. But without relentless micromanagement and constant offensive pressure, their fragile ships and unarmored raiders will be destroyed easily. For those who master the art of the sudden ambush and the collection of suffering, the galaxy is your playground to torture.